Hello, everyone. Welcome to um, an explanation of how you can make drop-down menus in, in Dreamweaver. Um, for this, I have some files that you'll really need. Basically, you can use as a template. And so on Canvas, this is drop-down LRF, local root folder.zip. So download that. And when you download that and make that your local root folder in Dreamweaver, you will see that there is a start HTML, which I will double click on and put in my live view, which is just a header. That is all that's in there. So we can look at the code, see it's just the header. And there's a logo in there because this is the music project. It's for something called Twang. And in addition, there's also this end HTML, which has the drop downs. I used very bold and garish colors. I always do in the beginning, just so we can see what is what. So you can see, oh, what's this green? Where's this drop-down menu coming from, and how do I change, this? Well, you can go to your CSS designer and the style sheet that comes with this, and you can simply look through these things with the show set turned on until you find what has the green type. So makes it pretty straightforward. So there's this, like in this case, it's the light yellow, and I've used names, by the way. Yep, there's the green. It's the drop-down content A, which is, the A is the link element, and drop-down content is a class. So, if I want to change that green to something else that's more appropriate to your website, or the font, or anything, to look under this selector. All right, so that is why these things are all marked up. And not only did I use colors for everything, I actually used the color names. So you will see if you look at the CSS, it'll literally say green. And I made a link to that chart of colors on Canvas. So you can use any one of these names instead of the code. You can actually use a name like green or purple, and even if you scroll down, you can use like spring green or pale green or things like that, and it'll work instead of typing in this code or using the RGB alpha things or anything like that. Okay, so that's all to make it easier. So how do we do this? Well, pretty straightforward. We're going to cut and paste things from our template. So the end rules HTML, I will open up. And the end HTML and the end rule CSS. And we'll want to put this in code view. All right. So the first thing we want is the CSS. Now, this is kind of a little more complicated than anything we've done, so that's why we're using this as a template. You can look at other sites, like this is similar to what W3 Schools uses. And there's other sites that use like list items, but this one is more straightforward since we really haven't had a chance to talk about list items this semester. We'll use this. And I've even commented it. So it says, here is where the drop-down items begin. So all we have to do is, you can even take that comment if you want, but I'm just going to go through and scroll through all the way to where it says this is where the drop-down items end, and make sure I get that last curly brace. And I'm going to copy it. All right, I Command-C'd it to my clipboard. Then I can go over to my start HTML file and its associated style sheet, start rule CSS, and just append it on there. All right, you can have a space in there, it's totally fine. Just make sure you don't, overwrite your curly braces or anything like that. All right, so nothing is going to have changed yet because I don't actually have any content for this to affect. What I've basically done is just added all the selectors I'm going to need to affect the content, the HTML structure that I'm just about to cut and paste onto my page. But right now, this navbar class doesn't affect anything because there's nothing that's been marked up with the navbar class yet. So let's go back to my source code. See, there's nothing that says there's a class my header and there's a logo div ID, but nothing that follows what we need. However, if I go back to my end HTML and I actually look at the source code, the HTML code, I can see, oops, I got to mark this up. I'm going to add it. You know what? I'm going to show you how to add a content right now so that this will be all ready to go. And then I will resave this onto Canvas. So if you move along here, there's an apply comment, and there's one that's called apply HTML comment, and I can say, this is where the HTML for the drop downs begins. All right, and because I'm such a slow typer, I'm going to copy that and put it here and change the word begins to ends. Okay, so I have comments in there. Sorry, I meant to do that earlier, but this is good. That was a comment. You can add those whenever. If you work with the team, those of you that are interested in web design, you're going to be working with teams at some point. They're not going to spend 20 minutes, half an hour trying to figure out what your classes are about. You know, so it's helpful to say this is what happens where in your HTML. All right, so we've done that. I'm going to go ahead and save this so I can upload this. Okay. So let's take this. Again, I can take the comments or not. They're not going to do anything, but I'm just going to go between that. You'll see, in fact, you can check. Click on the last one. It'll show the whole section. So you can make sure you have everything that you need. Okay. I'm going to take that, copy, go to my start HTML. And here's where I have to decide where to put it in. I'm going to go to split view now. It's going to go in this red box, which is my header. Now I already have one div in there for my logo. All right, there's my logo div. So this guy up here. It needs to go in here. So I need to make sure it's in my header. Here's where my header ends, but not inside my logo div. And it's got a div of its own. It's navbar thing. And you can see the second I did that, it popped right up, and it works already because the rules are already on our style sheet. Without those rules, this wouldn't work. In fact, at the end of this, I'll cut the rules off just to show you it'll look all really, really crappy. There'll be no formatting whatsoever, and it'll look really odd. Okay, so here's what you should do. I'm going to modify the screen just a little bit because we don't need all this. We just need to see our drop-downs, basically. Play with this. Go to your CSS designer and think, okay, what if I want to change this? Let's go back to the green type since we located that already. So I want to change this green type to something else, and this tan, I think that's like a yellowish, some version of a yellow. This is tan. Some version of a yellow drop-down background color. So I can come over to my start rules, and again, look for the green. There's my light yellow, first of all. So that was this color. So let's just change that to something different. Let's go to, I got that page open. Let's make it pale green. I'm going to copy that so I don't have to type the word pale green. And type that, put that in there, and tab out of there. And now, that doesn't look like pale green. I guess that is a weird pale green. It looks more like a gray, but you can tell in the little thing. Let's pick a different color because that one's, let's do teal. Teal's one word. Copy. Teal. That looks like teal. Cool. All right, that's definitely teal. Now we definitely need to find that green and make it white or something very light. So it's a bright green. I remember I have the show set on. You can see that bright green right there. I could also go to my type, and I can see green. And let's just go ahead and make that white. So now my color will be white in there. All right. So get familiar with these rules. Since you didn't have to write the rules, you're going to have to spend some time modifying them. Other important things to note, this class for this whole thing is called navbar. I've already set the display to inline block. That way we can use these margins to move it off the top. And if I wanted to move it off the side, I could add some margin there. It doesn't have a width or height right now. Right now, for my navbar, the width is simply defined by the content and the padding around the content. So these words are what's making the size. You can see every one of these is a little bit different. If I wanted, I could give each one of those a width. I would have to figure out what, this is the drop-down button. So I could give that drop-down button a width. Let's try that. Let's do this in pixels just so we can see it. You can see how everything disappeared there. So notice there's two drop-downs, first of all. I could give this a background color if it doesn't already have one. Let's do that just so we can see what this is affecting. How about like a light gray? Now, why is it doing these three and not these two? Because they're slightly different. These actually have drop-downs connected to them, and these do not. All right, so we'll also have to find this guy, which is clearly one of the link. It's probably navbar A. So, but play with it. I want you guys to discover this stuff, okay? That's why it's all color connected. And like everything we do, if you put a background color on literally everything, then you'll be able to see exactly where it is on the screen. Okay, what other modifications? Oh, well, we have to modify the HTML. That's the easy part. All right, now they got this looking extra ugly. Let's go here. So this word tickets, it's really just this. There's no like this navbar. So here, let's do this again. That is my whole navbar. This link right here, that line tickets, is just simply one word and it's linked just as the word connect is. So if, like, let's say I needed to add another object. So I can say copy. I just copied line 47. I'm going to hit return. I'm going to put that again. Now I have another connect button. I just need to change the word connect to, I don't know, info. Cool. Now the slightly more complicated, and not really complicated, just this more cut and paste, and you have to make very specific. You have to make sure you get the whole block, because there's two. It's a nested divs. So there's this thing called a button, which is an HTML element, and there's this div. So the word breweries here is what you see up here. All right, so there's the same, this format is repeated 3 times. Let's just start with music. It says right at the beginning. So I can click on that first one, and it is literally called Dropdown. So there's my music dropdown, and I would have to cut and paste. So in this case, from line 18 to line 27, that whole block. So don't do the wrong div. It's best to start at the bottom, because then it goes and shows you what the top part is. So don't go top down. Actually, you can go top down because it does the same thing in Dreamweaver. Dreamweaver is wonderful that way. I said the word wonderful in relationship to Dreamweaver. Oh my gosh. Okay, copy. Command C. I copied it. It's on my clipboard. And hit a return and paste it right here. And if you want to take out some of those, uh-oh, I'm going to undo that because I can tell I'm missing something. Okay, maybe I wasn't, but it freaked me out there for a minute. Copy. Okay, I think I missed that drop down because I was too busy talking. So div class drop down. We'll make sure it's different. We'll call it, I don't know what else we'd need. It really depends on your festival. But remember, it's very important to figure out what needs to go in your navigation. We got the big things like tickets, all bands under music, maybe have a special environment or experience. We'll call it experience, because maybe there's some other cool things that go in there. All right, there's our experience word. And then to change the drop-down parts of it, you simply go to the different words under it. So maybe, let's say there's a river rafting, because there's a river that runs through. That would be a fun summer thing to happen. And maybe there's also a I don't know, food stands. People need to know how to eat when they're there. And maybe that's all that we have under there, so we can just delete this last one. Okay. So now under my experience, we have this. Okay. Cool. Food stands and river rafting. Now, notice here's one last important thing, because we're pretty much done with this, but you need to understand that these are all linked, and they all have these null links, right? They have the hashtag in there. And don't take those out. Don't take any of those out, because as soon as you do, your style, these selectors over here are based on them being links. This whole navbar A, that means, this whole rule is based on this selector, which is targeting these links. So if you don't need the link, don't take it out. And if you do need the link, all you're going to do is replace this what you need to link to. So probably I'd be linking to something called food.html. All right, so that would mean somewhere in my local root folder on the top level, actually, I would have something called food.html. So notice that this hasn't changed at all, but this link would actually work now under food stands, except it's going to give me an error because I don't have the HTML file in there. But remember, this is just a link, all right, to a local file. All right, this is a relative link. It's going to a local file that's in your local root folder. And in this case, this food HTML is not in any subfolder. It's on the same level as this document here, which is my start HTML file. So it can't be in a folder under this or anything like that. So when I make this file to link it to, we could take our start and we could duplicate that one like we did earlier and then we could call our start copy food HTML. Okay, I like to keep all my HTML documents on the top level, not within any folder. If you do, however, put the HTML things in a folder, then you would have to specify that folder here in the link. So, but my recommendation to you is just keep all your HTML files on the top level of the directory. Okay. So now this link would work. So again, just to remind you guys, all you have to do, or you can, I guess, rewind this video, is fill this hashtag in with the actual link. Should be something.html, no spaces, keep it lowercase, no special characters, just the one period. Okay. All right, that is all. Try that, please. And if you want to use this, keep this document as a template. It's just a matter of cutting the styles and pasting them onto your document and cutting the HTML just for the drop downs. Like, please make your own header. Because you might want to make a few different modifications to it. Okay. That is all. Find these files on Canvas.